Well, hey, everybody, what's up? Welcome to the White Knuckle Podcast, powered by Ozonics. Undetectable, undeniable. Welcome back to the White Knuckle Podcast, powered by Ozonics, episode number 26. Today, I have with me Lucas Cayko. For many of you, you probably remember Lucas as a teammate of mine on White Knuckle Productions. Today, we're going to sit down and talk with Lucas about his 2 cents worth on the public land tract that I had given the guys to sort of dissect, and we'll get his 50,000-foot view, so to speak, of the property and what he thinks of that property, what he looks for in a property, and just a general overview of the process that he goes through when he's picking through all the different public hunting ground options that he has out in his part of the world. Before we get the show started, I'll just remind you again, we are powered by Ozonics, and what that means is, as a loyal listener, you'll be entitled to get yourself into the drawing for a significant prize package from Ozonics, so be listening for that here in the next couple of weeks. We'll be doing one every month between here and the end of December. So with that, sit back, relax, and enjoy my conversation with Mr. Lucas Cayko. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the White Knuckle Podcast. This is installment number 3 of a 4-part series that we're doing on public hunting land. And today I have joined with me on the other end of the line, if you're a White Knuckle fan, he probably needs no introduction, Lucas Cayko. How are you, Lucas?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Doing well for the end of May, and the sun's shining, and I guess we're getting every day closer to the 1st of November, so that's a good thing in my world.
Yeah, that and them antlers are growing every day.
Yeah, they are.
We'll be seeing some velvet racks popping around. That'll
be nice. We've been seeing quite a few pictures. I haven't looked at my cameras today. But we've been seeing quite a few pictures of some decent deer running around. So I'm hopeful that I'll see some decent deer. Last year I really didn't have anything that I thought or that I felt like Dave and I could really go after. So neither of us were real jacked up about anything, which prompted us to sort of change our plan for this year. I don't even know if you knew that or not or caught that, but I am going to do my best to stick as much to public ground in Wisconsin as I can, and then save that private land that I've got that, has always produced a few nice deer here and there. But I'm going to save that for, just here and there, and by and large, chase deer around on public land. I've been told many times that Wisconsin's got some of the best public around, so we'll find out if I'm.
I've heard that.
We'll find out if I know what I'm doing.
Man, it doesn't even matter. Even once you just get out there, things will start to click, and it's just a lot of fun knowing that when you're out there, anybody else could be out there. So when you make something happen on it, it's a whole different feeling than being on private. It's crazy. Yeah,
that's absolutely what I'm told. And I would have not really considered it. As a matter of fact, you and I had a conversation, I don't know, a month or two ago where, I'd asked you about coming to North Dakota and was strongly considering that. And I was talking with Ben from Fourth Arrow Camera Arms, and he said, man, I wouldn't waste my money going to North Dakota. I'd go to Wisconsin. I don't know if he forgot that I was from Wisconsin, and I'm like, Ben, what are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, really, for real. And he told me about it, and I'm like, okay. And then as luck would have it, I got a lease in southwestern Wisconsin, and that lease, although exciting as it was to get it, disappeared about as quick as I got it. So it got word got out that I leased it because it was from one of the banks that I deal, a guy that is one of my lenders in the car business, and he lives in South Carolina but happens to own 50 some acres over there, and it just word got out, and that was the end of that. But anyway, back to the task at hand. Public land hunting. So I've given you, I believe, the equivalent of 3 maps, 2 maps, something like that. Everyone that listens to these will also get provided those maps. They're kind of marked up. But before we really start to concentrate on the maps, what do you see, say, from 50,000 feet up as you're looking at this? I realize that this really isn't your type of terrain or the terrain that you're used to, but just based on your general knowledge of deer, what is it that you like about what you see, or what is it that you don't like about what you see? Kind of, what's your 50,000-foot opinion of this property?
Well, at first glance, I was thinking lots of small sections of timber. You know, it looks like there's some ravines that come down, and it looks like there's one main. I don't know if there must be a creek that runs through there, or a small river, maybe. Is that correct? Yeah,
a river. Yep.
Okay. Yep. So that's a plus right there. I mean, right there, I love to be hunting somewhat off of some kind of moving water. Seems to always be a real great way to hunt off the river. I don't know if that one's big enough to hunt with a boat or something like that. It doesn't look like it, but that's the first thing that jumped out at me. It looks like a little river system comes through, and then looks like one larger section of timber up on the northeast side of the property there. But I think, when I was looking at this one, I don't think that was huntable actually in the map here.
Correct. But, that real big chunk there in section would be where section 3 and 4 are.
It looks like there are a lot of interconnected pieces, and just going off of what I would see, like somewhere around here, I've hunted a lot of pieces kind of similar to that might stem off of a larger section like that, and those can be those perfect spots for the rut. You know, like deer are traveling that time of year, so you can catch a lot of those deer using those little tiny strips of timber in between larger timber, or going down through low spots and little ravines and stuff like that. So, I mean, it looks like it'd be a damn good place to just kind of run around a little bit and see what a guy can see. And it looks like it might be fairly open, where a guy could actually do some good glassing, maybe. Mm-hmm. You know, first light, last light, and just maybe catch something running around, and then maybe put something together for the next day or the next night or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's my initial thoughts on the property. Is just it's really patchy. You know, there's not really big timber that looks like it's huntable. So it looks like a guy would have to do a lot of maybe moving around. I like to do just hunting straight off the ground. Just doing some still hunting and glassing and rattling and calling and that type of stuff. So that might be something that a guy would be able to try in something like that. It looks like be interesting, anyways, to say the least. But I guess I haven't really looked at the elevations real closely, to be honest with you. So I don't know how much there is a change in all of that.
Just having ridden through that part of the world on my motorcycle, you know, for a guy from Wisconsin, that's really hilly.
Okay.
I don't know that it's really hilly in your world, but I would say there's, you know, it's pretty contoured. Let's say that. I would say that along in section number the portion in section number 1 and 2 there along the river, which you mentioned the river, and it looks like it is relatively shallow. You know, from a bird's eye view, it looks like it's relatively sandy. But then again, you know, who knows till you try and wade in there with a set of waders and then end up in your armpits.
Yep. Just pack the kayak along and bring it, and then if you need it, you got it. You can float. You know, that's just one thing about the river is a guy can get, you know, if he takes that initiative to pack a kayak or a canoe or something like that, and he, you know, looks like from the parking areas you can't get really close to the river other than maybe parking spot 2 and looks like in section 3, right? Upper right-hand side?
Yep.
That looks like it's fairly close to the river right there.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Yep. So that looks like a spot where I would do maybe something like I'd put in a kayak or canoe and do a float and then just jump off and you know, up onto a spot where I can hunt. And you never know. I mean, I've been floating down the river and stuff, and you can spot things just from the river, and
Give me an example of what you would spot.
well, maybe a deer comes down and gets a drink, or I'm guessing these are, like you said, they're pretty hilly alongside, so you could see up on the hillsides.
Okay.
So you got a sunny. It looks like if that's facing if you're floating down the river there and you're looking to the northwest, there'll be some sunny sides of the hills and some knobs maybe out there that if later in the year when it's getting cooler, deer might be laying up on the sides out there, catching some sun, and just being out away from everything else. I mean, that's the first thing you see at the river is getting out away from everybody, getting out away from the parking areas, the main roads, the farms, stuff like that. That'd be my main goal is to just get out there, get out away from everybody. And because 9 times out of 10, you just get out away from everybody, you're gonna have some sort of luck. Whether you're gonna see something, that's gonna give you a good idea for maybe the next day, or you're gonna get into something where you can make something happen at that very moment. And that's kind of how I would go about that, using the river.
Okay. One of the questions that you wrote, or I wrote down rather, when I asked you, sort of your 50,000 foot view, and then I'll get back to that 50,000 foot view in a second, is why water? Why is water important?
Well, it just creates a barrier, that I've noticed. The animals seem so, they're so comfortable around it. So what I've noticed is this: when you're along the river, the deer generally know when something approaches from the river because it's usually got a motor on the back of it, So they got a long heads up. They can hear the things coming. So what I've done in the past with using the river, I might drive past an area, depending on if I'm coming from downriver or upriver, just whatever. I'll kill my motor upriver and float down into where I want to hunt, maybe a quarter mile or so, just because I feel like if I pull up to an area on the river and I kill my motor right there, I think deer catch on to that type of thing, because I think over time people are doing that, and there are people that do that. So I think they catch on to the fact that they hear it pull up, they hear it shut off, pretty quick they smell humans. And so I feel like if I can kind of eliminate that first aspect, if I can just drive right on by where I'm going, if I'm coming from downriver, and drive upriver and then kill the motor and just basically kind of float right in down, and then, or maybe even get out and walk down the sandbar back down to where I want to hunt. Something like that.
Okay.
I just feel like they're so comfortable along that river. They can put their back to it and pretty much trust that nothing's coming from that direction. And depending on the wind, they can use the wind where they have, the wind coming in from the trees. If they're facing the big block of timber, or if they're up on the hillside, they can see everything. And just using the wind in their favor and having that river to their back, I think it's just a good way to kind of feel a little bit safer,
So it sounds like what you're saying is like, for instance, in section 1 and 2 along that river, where the river primarily runs north and south, it sounds like what you're saying is that's sort of an invisible wall for them, or a safety blanket, if you will. If they're up, let's assume that those are high ridges, they're up on a ridge or something like that. Is that what you're saying? They can lay with their back to the river. Predominantly, that wind is going to be out of the west, northwest at the time of year when hunting. Okay. So
yeah. I mean, and with that stuff, I mean, I'm sure there's somebody that could talk a little bit better on using the ridges and stuff like that along a river, like in that particular type of an area. Because I obviously can't speak, perfectly about that, because that's just something I haven't really hunted. I have hunted in Illinois, but that was with an outfitter, just to run down there and check it out and see what it was like, and so it was a lot different. So That's why I kind of steer away from trying to talk a whole lot about that, because I'm sure I could be talking on here to somebody that does hunt it a lot and be like, oh, that guy's full of shit. So I don't want to be that guy.
Right.
But yeah, I just feel like, if I can find a water source, especially a river, and if there's enough water where you can use a boat, that's great. If not, that's a plus too, because you can get in and out of there. Maybe you can just walk across it back and forth, chest waders or something like that. I've seen deer just jump right in the river, and just that's how they escape, because they know nothing's following them through the river. So I've seen that a bunch of times, and usually in gun season around here, if people are doing any deer drives up here, you always have people on the opposite side of the river, or out there watching sandbars and stuff like that. If there's some, because them things they know, all right, I'm out of here. I'm done if I run through the trees here. So they're gone. And it's amazing how them deer can swim too.
Sure.
With the current that we got in the Missouri up here, they can shoot straight across the damn river. They angle their bodies and they go straight across. It's pretty fascinating.
So, assuming you had all kinds of choices for land to hunt in terms of public land, is there anything that you don't like about what you see? Is there anything that when you're looking at a particular area, whether it's this one or in where you live, is there anything you don't like to see that you see present here that you could point out?
On this one, I see it kind of limited for access ways, for parking areas. They got the 3 right through the middle section of that one piece, the Salem unit it's called, right? So you're kind of limited with just those 3, and they're kind of right in the middle, So I'd be, in the afternoon maybe not so sketchy, but come morning, depending on what side of that property you want to hunt, I'd just be a little wary about how you'd want to enter one of those pieces of timber with what wind direction you got. But I mean, there's always seems to be a way. It's just got to figure it out, And with this one, I probably wouldn't even think that deep into going, well, I don't like this part, because I'm probably just going to go there and find out for myself regardless. There's probably always going to be something I don't like. I really don't like not having a large section of timber to hunt,
right? Because
usually if there's smaller sections like this, a lot of times they're going to be overrun, with people probably. And if you get some larger sections where you can find some little honey holes and stuff deep into that stuff, and where people aren't willing to walk to, or put in a boat and get to them. So
right.
That's one thing, I suppose, where it's just not really large timber, and I hunt a lot of large timbered areas, so that would be my first thing, I guess, maybe.
Is it fair to say that you're used to hunting an area that's not real populated?
It's not really, yeah, I would say it's not super populated, as in people right on top of everything, but hunting over here has only gotten even more and more popular, I guess you could put it. Just since the oil boom up here.
Oh,
and
sure.
The people that came, and then they settled down here, and so there's more people than there ever was when I first started hunting up here. But there are always places to get away from the people here. That's what I love about it. And using the river is by far the best way to do it, and that's how I'll usually go about it if I can.
So it would be. Is it fair to say that you're going to give any public spot a try if it looks remotely feasible to hunt? Like it's probably got some deer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Like I was just looking at maps for South Dakota here about a month and a half ago, I suppose, and just picking out spots in different areas and where I might want to go check out. And there's a lot of public ground in South Dakota, more than I really thought there was. So, I think at this point in how many years I've been hunting, I can kind of get a feel for what a property has to offer just by taking first glance at the map and then actually driving up on it and seeing what it looks like, seeing how much the roads are tore up, whether there's a 2-track that's heavily packed down that looks like there's always vehicles up and down it, or there's tall grass all over and it's like, nobody really using this thing. So that's I'm trying to get away from the people first off. That's number one. Get away from the people as much as you can, and And I think you're going to be way more successful than kind of, taking the easy way in and parking where everybody else is and maybe, going that route. Because I don't know, I've wasted a lot of time hunting within people in my early days, and and it didn't take me long to figure that out. Was okay, I got to get away from the people, and then I got away from the people, and now I started killing deer and started seeing a lot of big bucks. And it's getting tougher now, though. There's quite a bit more people using the river now, and
right.
There's more people are becoming more hardcore by the day. Hardcore hunter isn't really that rare anymore. There's a lot of them out there now. There's a lot of guys out there really grinding it out. So
everybody's got a podcast talking about how to conquer public hunting.
Yeah. Everybody's got podcasts, and everybody's doing web shows, and everybody's after it now.
Right. So you mentioned staying away from people, and.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what other than driving straight into Canada as far as you can possibly go? How do you try and accomplish that?
Well, maybe you're contacting some landowners, and if nothing else, they don't let you hunt on their property. They might let you drive through their property or onto their property or walk through their property to get to a different section of the public land or something like that where somebody else might be a little too shy to knock on the door, where you go knock on Jack and Jill's door and ask them, hey, can I cut across your field here? And you might cut across that field, and you're going to be deep into that timber within 10 minutes aside from parking on the other side, and you're going to have to walk 35, 40 minutes, and then you're busting out every deer in the property just trying to get back there, where you can try and take in the back door, the river. Like I said, I could talk all day about the river. I mean, if you can use a creek or any kind of a water source to get in behind some property and in there quietly, I'd say do that. Just do it. Don't think about it. Don't try to overthink it. Just go, all right, where would I normally hunt at? All right, instead of walking through the timber, I'm going to take the water in the morning and float through it or walk through it or whatever you're going to do and sneak in there that way and just see what happens. I almost guarantee, unless somebody else goes in there that morning, which happens, where you do all the work and come in the right way, and then somebody else comes right through where you didn't want to go through, and then your whole hunt's screwed. And that happens, that's public land, man. That's what's going to happen. And you just sit there and laugh about it and go, just busted my ass for the last hour and a half canoeing up this creek, and then jump in your tree, and then here comes Rico and his dog.
Right.
They come walking through there or something, and it just happens. It happens a lot, and I just expect it anymore. Don't only let it bother me. I think that's part of the public land thing is if you're expecting to go out there and not run into people, you got another thing coming, and so the quicker you just accept the fact that you're going to run into people, you're going to have things go wrong that you can't control. You might as well not even do it, because it's not going to be your private little hunting spot, and it never will be. Your tree, the tree you set a tree stand in, might not have a tree stand in it all summer long, and you want to come back and hang in it, and somebody will have something in it a week before season, just because they know that, that guy's been hunting there and it must be a good spot. It happens,
Well, one quick thing just to take a step back, and you're the third person now of three that I'm gonna do a show with, and then we'll all get back together at a later date and talk about what we all talked about. But the one common thread, and I don't want to give too much away, with each of you has been surprising enough to me, water. And every one of you, it was water. And again, I'm not a complete idiot, but close.
Come on now.
I've been hunting the same, 190, 230, however, let's call it 300 acres since I was 14 years old, accepting, 5 or 6 years where I went off to what I thought was greener pastures and then got invited back, thankfully. So, this for me will be like going to the big city. There's a lot of information that you garner from your experiences, and just like in anything in life, there's no substitute for experience. And there's no substitute, as you well know, for, taking a lump on the head or learning a lesson.
For sure.
So, another thing that you said is, if you're going to go into this thinking you're not going to run into somebody, then don't even bother. Because the fact of the matter is you are. I think that's what you said, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. No, the public land thing is hard, man. I mean, it can be oddly easy at times. I mean, there'll be times where you're like, I'm the only guy that hunts in this state. Holy cow. And you just run around all over and you won't see people for a week or two. And then some weeks it's nonstop. It's a weird thing. And I like to hunt when it sucks, because when things suck, people don't like to go out there. So when the temperatures are horrible, when it's windy, when it's rainy, I mean, I just like to go when it sucks. When it's super hot out, people think you can't kill deer when it's super hot. Well, that's false. You can, it's just all about knowing where you need to be. And I just like to hunt when people aren't going to be there, and if you can maximize the amount of time you're there when somebody else isn't, I think your chances of killing something are going to just increase all the time. And if you keep on doing that throughout the season, just kind of using those little things where, I have weekdays off sometimes, Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yep, me too.
So that Tuesday, Wednesday, I can almost count on nobody being out there the mornings for sure, So that opens up a whole wide spectrum of places I can go, And then I might not have those two spots come the weekend, so I might try those areas, And then just doing things that, if in your mind you just think that, all right, this is gonna suck. If you ever think that, you gotta go with that. You got to, because if it sucks, somebody else might have thought of that, or they didn't. But if they did and they thought, that's going to be too much work, or that's going to suck driving up the river in the dark, and it's going to be cold, and sometimes that's scary because you're like, geez, if I tip this boat over, whatever could happen. So
exactly.
Sometimes it's just putting your fears aside and just going for it, and it'll pay off. But that's rather here nor there too, because we all have, some of us have families, and you got to kind of try to play it a little bit safer now and then, so, which I try to do now, obviously, because I got 3 of my own little ones, so I try not to do all the wild things I used to. but I still have that. Yeah, no doubt. Well, one particular one, and just right off the bat, was a couple of years ago. I walked across the Yellowstone in Montana, about an hour from where I live, and I didn't tell my wife I was doing that. Dumb, kind of stupid move. I didn't say where I was going to be or nothing like that. And I went over there one evening right after work. And it took me about 2 hours to actually find a crossing spot on the water. You had to walk in, and oh, God, that's deep. Back out. Finally, about 2 hours, I found the crossing spot, went across, got set up in my tree stand, and I had a booner at 60 yards. Frickin' not even 20 minutes into my set that night. So it's just one of those things, like, that whole 2 hours, I was telling myself, just go home, you dummy, this is stupid. I didn't kill that deer, but I had that opportunity because I found a way to get there, right?
Sure.
And so I just, time and time again, I just have those little instances where kind of doing something stupid pays off, but you kind of wonder, like, I don't know if it's worth it, but now it's worth it to me because I lived through it, obviously, but
right.
At the time it was, I don't know, it's still invigorating, pushing things to the edge a little bit,
Right, and the one thing that I've always told my kids, and I think it just seems to hold true in life, is if you want uncommon results, uncommon efforts coming your way. And I think that is particularly true in this or in these kind of situations.
Right. Yeah, that's 100% true.
You mentioned earlier, and then I swear we'll get to the maps. But I'm loving picking your brain, because a lot of the time that we got to spend together was at a trade show, or spend together was at a trade show.
Yep, that's right.
With a Jack and Coke in my hand, and I probably forgot 90% of what we talked about.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Then a half hour in, what we were talking about probably didn't have anything of any kind of knowledge left in it. So
no resemblance of hunting probably at all. But you said something that kind of piqued my interest, and that's maximize your time. Maximizing your time for you in the off season means what, and in during season means what? In other words, how would you define maximizing your time, and what is it that you do that maximizes your time in the on season and off season?
So I'll start off season. Off season, what I'd normally do is, I guess you could say shed season's still in season. I mean, for a lot of us, that's basically still in season. I mean, and really the season never ends. So yeah, there is, so to speak, that off season where you're not actually able to hunt and kill anything. So we'll just call that off season. But doing some shed hunting, moving through the timber and based off of, the knowledge off of you hunting the previous year and maybe years before and what you might have stored. For some reason, I can read books and not remember a damn thing. But I can walk through all of this timber, and I can tell you what tree is what and where it is if you took a picture of it. I know all that stuff. For some reason, I can remember everything like that. So I have a mental map for this whole friggin' place I hunt that, I'd put it up against almost anybody if I had to, and if it had to be tested. But so
you don't use a GPS or anything like that?
Well, I will just maybe if I'm coming in the morning, if I want to hunt something in the morning, or if I don't want to forget about maybe where a particular rub was and actually forget about it, because I'll go through my GPS on my phone and just go, okay, yeah, that's where that rub was that I seen today. Because sometimes you speed walk through something and you're shed hunting and moving around, you go, where did I see that big rub at? You're like, I know it was over in this timber over here, but, so I'll do that just as a backup, but for the most part, I'll remember most of that stuff. But, there's always those places that you walk through and you go, I got to get back here and hunt this stuff. So those are the places that I might focus on in the off season, maybe going in there and spending some time, just take a seat right on the ground and picture where the deer are moving around in there and what trees are going to look like, during hunting season, maybe without the foliage and stuff like that, and kind of look at the stand options or sitting on the ground or where you might want to actually put a camera in another month or something like that, and really just going through all those places that, I discover throughout the hunting season that, I got to get a camera in here this summer, or I got to get a stand in here because this is for sure a kill spot. I have one spot that for sure is going to be a kill spot. End of October, all the way through November. I had a camera in there, and I stayed out of there all year. All this hunting season, I stayed out of it, and I just wanted to see what would happen, just as deer naturally move through there all fall, because I always had a feeling about it. So that was one of those things in the off season there. Right before season started, I put a camera in there, let it sit, and I come back and picked it up in, I think it was January, and the batteries lasted till almost mid-December. So I got everything I needed to know, and I had daylight bucks in there, I suppose 25, 30 different times from mid-October to end of November.
Wow.
And so, there was 5, 6 different big ones. I mean, the biggest was maybe 155, 160, but definitely some big bruisers running around in there. And it seemed like it was a really, really popular spot for those deer to stage in the late morning and then mid-afternoon. So that's one spot that I haven't made it to yet, but I've got it on the list here, and I'll get in there and take a look at it, and for sure trim a trail from the river to where I would want to hang a stand or sit on the ground. That's for sure. That's something that has to get done. Is got to clear a pathway, so I can get in there quietly from the river, because that'll be a spot I hunt from the river in the morning, and I'm excited about that one. That one will be pretty. I know that it's going to get wild in there, and so I'll spend some time in there this year. And who knows? Maybe I'll kill something in there.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those areas.
Okay. So it sounds like you try and identify your spots early, stay out of them until that time is right, and it sounds like and of course that time could be right given what kind of a geographical spot it, or what kind of piece of property you're talking about. If you're talking about something with a lot of ag fields, certainly you could maximize some time there early in the season. I just wondered, I guess, to ask the question directly, and you did answer it, is how is it that you're maximizing your time? I mean, it sounds like you're walking a lot, and that's, again, been another common theme, is just boots on the ground. There's no substitute for that. You can look at all these maps and all that happy, stuff, but at the end of the day, what really matters is boots on the ground.
That's basically, that's. I'll look at maps just to come up with ideas, and then all them ideas is all right, go to that spot, and that's basically what I'll do. And now, as I get older, and this stuff I've hunted for years, that it doesn't require a whole lot of off season anymore. I've kind of just dove into that stuff 100% back when I was younger, before I had all these kids and was married and had this house and this job and all that stuff. So I kind of did the work early to where now I can just fine tune it, and so now that'd be a whole different story, obviously, if I'm going out of state, right? Because I'm going into whole new territories and stuff like that. And the way I'd look at it there is, I'm just going to go. I'm gonna have a certain list of these different places that I want to hit, and I might see something along the way also, but I'm just gonna hit those places. I'm gonna hunt hard and aggressive, because obviously, you don't have any time to waste. You're out there. You're away from your family. You got to make things happen. So that's kind of the way I hunt here too. It's just hunt aggressive. I mean, that's the best thing about public land, is hunt hard. If you screw something up, move on to the next spot. Give that place a break. And you can always cycle back to those places, So I'm just never afraid to ruin it, I used to just play this stuff where I'd stress myself out and end up not having very much fun. And, I'd still kill big bucks, but, if I wasn't killing a big deer, I might not have been having a whole lot of fun, because I'd be too worried about so-and-so walking in there and this and that, and, the wind not being right or whatever, and now I just, I'll find a way, If I can't hunt them from the tree stand, I'll hunt them from the ground. If I can't hunt them from the ground, I'm just gonna get on foot and just creep around. And if I got a camera guy, I usually film by myself. So, but if I ever have a camera guy, I got him walking with me, and we're rattling and we're calling in the rut, and it gets wild, man. I had a buddy up this past fall, and I got to show him what that was like, and he's from Minnesota, and he's never seen that type of stuff where we're on the ground, we're on the move, and we're calling them like elk, basically, He sets up in one area, and he was hunting, and I'd call him, and I'd bring deer right past him and be right on top of him sometimes, and it's intense, and I would never take that out of the arsenal of tactics ever, And I don't care where you're at. I think that could work anywhere if you do it right.
No, I agree.
And you know what? That's my favorite thing about the whitetail adrenaline guys. Is they hunt just like I do. They're whatever works. Let's do it. We don't care. Let's get out there, and we'll chase these things down if we have to on foot.
Right. And they do.
If I had a full-time cameraman, I would be nonstop on the run, because I think that's the most fun, and I think you have the most chances to kill deer, if you're on the move and you're not sitting in one spot, you know, because if you're moving through the timber the right way, you'll run into deer, you know, and they might not know you're there, and pretty quick you might have a shot at a deer before too long, just by getting your eyes on them and cutting them off or calling them in, or hell, you might just walk right to you. You never know.
Yeah, well, it seems to work for those guys. That's for sure. We had
that's
Jared on the show.
Those guys are awesome.
Yeah, they do something that isn't done by anyone else. That I can assure you. Other than now we know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So let's get back to the maps just for a short period of time. Is with respect to let me grab my map here. Section number 1, so the top left.
Yep.
It looks like there's 1, 2, parking lot number 1 and parking lot number 3 are in that section number 1. Is there anywhere that you see, other than, I guess we did cover the river, and certainly I would guess that you would try and at least put boots on the ground somewhere along that northeastern border there. Is there anywhere in section 1 other than that you like? Because otherwise it is pretty open.
Yeah. I like how it has that little field. It's kind of jagged back in there. It's got some little, and I'm guessing those are ravines that drop down. A lot of times when you get those little points out on the map like that, that timber that reaches out, usually those are some little ravines or draws coming up out of the bottom. So I know those are really good to focus on, those types of things. That's basically just from what I've read and heard of, you know, people talking about this kind of terrain. But I mean, it looks like there's a spot where you could get in there kind of close, if you're looking at the map that shows you the blue borders and, you know, the lines that go through it, and it says Salem unit. So if you were right kind of close to that S on Salem, you know, I'm a big believer in just sitting back and watching, and just kind of an observation setup. So it looks like a guy could set up maybe along that edge of that tree line, and you could see clear across that field all the way up to County Road 15, where it says County Road 15. Or you could sit on that end too. You could sit on that end or the other, depending on what your wind's doing and what it looks like there. But it looks like it'd be a great spot to just see what's going on. You know, first off, see where the deer are moving, and maybe get your eyes on something. You know, that'd be one of the things. Because if I don't know anything about the property, I got to sit back and actually see what's going on. So I'm going to find those spots that I can set up and see a long ways and glass and do that type of thing. And before I run in there and just, you know, completely screw it all up.
So it'd be safe to say then, or would it be fair to say that you, given a new spot, are probably going to not be as aggressive, simply because you're going to do nothing more than screw yourself up by being aggressive? You're going to just sit back and you know, watch things happen?
Yeah, if I have the time, if the time is allowing me to do that, I'll do that. You know, where I can, all right, maybe I have tonight, all right, we know, you drive somewhere and maybe you have 2.5, 3 hours left of the, you know, the evening when you actually get there, maybe, you know, the first day. So you might want to just sneak out there and watch them fields and see what's happening, you know, that first day. And, you know, as maybe your trip goes on, you just, you know, you just get a little bit more aggressive, and there might be spots that you focus on, you know, you do some still hunting, you know, and you're actually in the stand in the morning and in the stand in the evening, but throughout the day you go and, you know, like I said, with maximizing your opportunity, that's basically how I killed my deer this past fall, which would actually been this year, January 8th or whatever it was. I had been hunting a deer, and I'd sit in the morning and the evenings, and just happened to be that last day, you know, it was, all right, well, it's time to maximize, you know, everything we can do here. So we did a little deer drive and didn't kill the deer I was after, but I killed an old mature muley from the ground, And my dad did just a slow push through some timber, and the snow was deep enough, nothing was going to get moving too quickly, and we had to run through the snow, make a big circle to cut them deer off, and it was just made for some pretty interesting footage, but we got it done, and that feels good when that happens too, man. You hunt all year long, and it just doesn't happen, and and then you just finally push it to the edge, and you almost force it into happening, and when that happens and it works, it really makes you, question everything you really do, because you're like, how many times could I have done this throughout the year, and actually been successful, or maybe even had close calls or whatever. And we've done it for years, and it just seems to be pretty successful in the wintertime when the deer they're kind of wore down, and up here the snow gets deep enough, they just don't move as well. So you can kind of do that and get deer to kind of come creeping by, and you can almost, predict where they're going to come through just by the trails that they've been using, because they don't like to veer off the trails too much when it snows that deep. So it'll work, and it worked this year. It was pretty neat. That was my first muley with a bow. So
nice. Anything in section 2 that you like?
I like that. Let me look here. I like that bigger block of timber in that one. It's on the edge there. That's a big. I'm attracted to the bigger block of timber because I feel like that's going to hold the majority of the deer. Not always the big guy. Those big deer can be found in the old farm right off to the side of the road, that time of year, and take a doe out there and just lay there instead of fighting off all the other bucks, But, late season, and obviously I'm sure you know this too, it all depends on what time of the year you're going to be hunting these places, and, just based off this map, that bigger block of timber is probably going to hold some deer in the later part of the year, you would imagine. So that's a good piece right there. I like that. I like how on the back side of it, there's some private stuff along the back side, and I'm not sure what that farmers might be putting in that side, be on the far west side there, where the blue border makes some couple jogs in the map there. But maybe hunting along that back edge over there, depending on what it looks like. The map shuts off right there, so it's hard to tell. But I do like the way that piece is sitting right there. I can't tell if that's a farm that's kind of in the middle of that, by parking lot 2 there. Is that a farm over there? I can't really quite tell. I'm not sure, but
that's a good question.
See that little block there? I'm not sure what the heck that is over there.
What it looks like is an old. Let me just zoom in on it here.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's an old concrete slab is what it is, and to me it looks like
really?
It's got I don't know what is it that's stacked on it. It is part of the public hunting ground though, and it looks like there's a lot of silage that's been it's either silage or sand, one of the two that have been dumped on it. But yeah, you're talking about that big square. And then to the south of it, there's some sporadic timber that kind of goes into a bigger chunk of timber as you get closer to the river to the south.
Yep, right.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and I was actually, one spot I wanted to point out was right down along the river. I'm not quite sure if that's down in the riverbed or what it looks like, but I mean from what it looks like here, that might be some taller grassy area that's down in the bottom right-hand section of the Salem unit there. Mm-hmm. You see how it kind of gets that lighter green shade there?
Yep.
I wonder if that isn't some taller grass, like CRP type stuff that grows well, kind of, like maybe even cattails or something like that.
I would have to guess that you're right. It's going to be something relatively marshy. Yeah. Relatively. Because it looks like the river line is a little bit up off that, a little bit. You can almost kind of see it with just the way the tree line is.
I would bet that's some wet, marshy land, and that would be. I would almost be shocked if Curtis didn't point that out. Mr. Cattails himself.
You know what? I don't remember if he said anything about that or not. But as I drill down on it here, with my big screen computer, I can see that there is an absolute definitive trail that cuts across, how you can see, okay, so you've got the timber there, which would be to the, let's just call it east and west. The timber's to the west and the marsh is to the east. Really, it's northwest and southeast, but how there's a trails that come across and head into that stuff pretty, there's some pretty healthy trails, and a lot of them. Now, I don't know whether, those are old cattle trails, but cattle trails are not, and you probably could speak to this, they're still going to use those because...
I've seen that. I mean, there's areas over here that they graze cows in, and them deer, they'll jump on them cattle trails. No problem. They love that.
Right, exactly. Yeah. They're just like us.
And what I like about that spot is, see how it pinches down real tight right there, right up against that big block of timber across the river there? Mm-hmm. I like that. See, I think that little section right down in there would be a hot spot. That'd definitely be a spot I'd check out.
That would be a spot that you could... as I look at this, there's walking, there's ample walking trails, or where, the state uses, a vehicle to get here, there, or farmers or whatever the case may be. But you're right. I can see, because there's a pretty healthy sized piece of timber that's private in what would be the no hunting section part of the map. There's a pretty healthy chunk of timber in there. So, I guess, you know what? Honestly, I don't know that anyone else pointed that out.
That's kind of, that would be like the type of stuff I look for is where I can get up close to what stuff isn't hunting, or, that isn't going to hold like people on it. So maybe that private stuff isn't going to hold a lot of people on it, right?
Right.
So if I can get up close to that stuff, it's
What a sound tactic, and I'm again, I've confessed that I'm gonna hunt public hunting grounds. So selfishly, I came up with this idea all by my little self.
Right on.
to abuse you guys for your knowledge, and then hopefully put it to use. But as long as I had the means, I thought I would, use it. But let's talk real quick about that section number 2 in that southeastern part, where the river comes down, and we talked about that bigger chunk of timber. Now, I'm just going to tell you from my little experience what it looks to me like I would do. I would, if I could, I would get there via the river. However, it looks like that might be a hell of a boat ride. Whether it was, because I'm guessing it's not going to be a motorized boat. It's going to be a skiff of some sort, and that looks like
kayak canoe.
Probably 2.5, as I measure it, 2.5 to 3 mile ride. If you came in from where we originally talked up in section 3, I believe it was, where that parking lot was. But would it be a good idea where that border is in that southeast border? You see there's some trees right along the river there. Could one assume from your experience that there's going to be some sort of significant crossing there somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, that's what jumped out to me first off was how it all kind of pinches down right into that section. And so I envision right now, just looking at it, this is what I would hope to find, is that deer are crossing the river from this big section of timber and bedding up maybe on that little corner of that public. And that public, see, what I like about it is you got a big block of timber just to the west. It's a fairly good size. I mean, even that private stuff, I mean, that's all still timber, whether it's private or public, it's all timber, right? Well, if that's a big bedding area in between those two, and I'm hoping that the cattails or just even tall grass or CRP or whatever it might be, willows, I don't think there's a whole lot of willows down there, but I'm thinking that'd be a hell of a spot to catch deer, October-ish, October, November. Just based off of what I'm looking at. And I would say, depending on which way the river's moving here, I'm not sure if it's moving from left to right, or if it's coming from right to left as the flow. I'm not totally sure from the map.
It's coming from the top, going towards the bottom.
Okay, gotcha.
So it would be from the right to the left.
Okay.
Good Lord, it felt like I was in kindergarten trying to figure out my right and left there.
See, and so that's actually pretty cool. I had to make sure that the river's even going here. Let's see, it goes all the way up. So we agree that parking spot 2 in section 1, 2, it would be 4. Is it the upper right-hand section? I see we're at section 3 and 4. I'm not sure if that's section, but upper right-hand side, right? That parking lot 2.
Yep.
That's along the river, right?
That is right from what I can tell from this map.
Okay.
It looks like it's about 1,000 feet.
Yeah, okay, yep, there's the river. Yep, I zoomed in a little better, I can see it. So, I like that. I like being able, if it's flowing from the right part of the upper right to the bottom left, that's a pretty cool way a guy could float there right on down through there and sneak in there. And it might be a little bit of a jaunt, but I'd say it'd be worth the time to check it out. If that was what I was gonna, if I was hunting this area, I would definitely find a way to get there. But parking lot 4, in that bottom part of Salem unit there, it isn't that far for a guy to maybe cut across right there. And even parking lot 2, it just all depends on the wind direction and what you want to do with it. But even parking lot 2, if you can cut kind of right down the edge of the field there, and it looks like it's almost open field all the way to the river, pretty close anyways.
Would you be concerned
down to the river and you could sneak in?
Would you be concerned because of the ease of getting there that's going to be relatively well attended, so to speak, in terms of hunters? First off,
this one, nope, I wouldn't even be worried about it right there. I really wouldn't. Not just looking at the roads. If you look at all the roads around there, that's about geographically center between all them roads, right?
Okay. Yeah, true.
And so that would be that's always the prime spot. What's the very geographical center of the closest roads, right? That would be my first place I would want to look. What is in that area? And it just so happens to be the actual spot that looks like the most promising to me. So I think I might have to look this spot up there, Jason, and come on down there.
All right, well let's move on to section 4, which is God, of all of them, I do have a favorite. I'll reserve that for the end. But what do you think of section 4?
All right, section 4.
So that has that's in the top right-hand quadrant there. It's got one parking. It looks like there's one small piece in amongst all that's private, just a small red block there.
Yeah, kind of odd. I wonder what that is even. What I like about this stuff is that parking lot 2, right on the river. So it makes everything super accessible, right? So you have the parking lot 2 on the north side, and you got parking lot 1 on the south side. So what I like about that setup is for morning and evening entries, right? So morning, I might want to come in from the river or across the river, somewhere right there, and come in on the backside thinking that the deer are going to be out in all those egg fields out there, right? So that's a back door. That's a slam dunk in my opinion, just for getting in there without spooking anything. And then in the evening you can do it vice versa. So you could have a steady north wind, west or north wind and come in from your parking lot 1, and so that's that's one positive to that one, is you're going to have fairly good winds to use out of that area, because I'm sure the winds are, I don't know about down there, but I mean up here it's constant west, northwest, or north, something like that.
Yeah, down here it could be, good Lord, it can be anything. Let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
Do you ever pay attention to or try and garner any kind of intel in terms of how much pressure an area is getting if you're pre-scouting something by the way the parking lot looks?
Yeah.
You do. I asked Curtis that question, and he said, I don't pay attention to how the parking lot's manicured or whatever smart ass answer he had. But I said, touche. So he doesn't pay any attention to it. It just seemed to me, and I'm not trying to put words in anybody's mouth, but it just seemed to me like, if I were an FBI agent, that would be one thing that I'd pay attention to, is
right.
how much activity there seems to be. Is that something that you sort of use in your equation to rate a property on a whatever scale you use? It is okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it may not deter me from hunting the area, but driving in, my morale's going to be up or down, right? If I'm driving in and it's like we've had a fresh rain a couple of times that week and there isn't a shitload of, tire tracks just ripping through that thing and, and it doesn't look like it's had much traffic in it, now my morale's going to go up right there. It's going to go, okay, all right, this thing's been kind of left alone here maybe, and maybe been one or two people in and out maybe. And just because there's so many times in public land where, you show up and there's a lot of times the roads don't always tell you that either. There's some pretty well-maintained roads that just, you pull into a parking area, you can't tell the difference whether there's been somebody there or not. But when you can see that, I like to look at it because if I'm going to go and wait, spend some time, and now my time is even more valuable than ever when I got, having kids and, the wife and, I've got plenty of stuff to take care of at home too. So that's where maximizing my time while I'm out there. I want to be in the best spot possible at every single time I'm going out. So I will look at that, and if it is looking like it's been overrun a little bit, and if in the past I know it has been hunted and it seems to be there's been more people and maybe I've seen more tree stands in the past year or two in there, then I might just be like, but I'll always go into a piece of timber regardless if I'm going in to just do, I call it rattle and run. If me and my dad are going to go rattle and run, and so we basically that's just moving from section to section in the blocks of bedding areas that we know where the bedding areas are. We'll put the wind in our face and we'll work our way up to bedding areas and get into some thick stuff and call deer out of those areas, using the horns and breaking sticks and making all kinds of racket on the ground. You can call deer in just breaking branches. You don't have to have any horns at all. You just got to sound like a deer,
Right.
And so I won't look at that if I'm going to do that. But so if there's heavily hunted areas, I'll focus on those spots to do some rattle and run stuff, because I'm not worried about people in that instance, because I'm going in there to be aggressive anyways. So, but if I want to go in and actually sneak around and get set up and hunt something, I'm probably going to go to a spot that I can, be pretty positive that there hasn't been anybody in there, So I will look at it. So.
All right. Anything in section 3 that you like? So that would be the part that kind of converse to the rest of the pieces, runs essentially north and south, maybe a little bit southwest to northeast.
Right, yep. Yeah, that's up by North Broadway Road, right?
Yep.
So that road, I don't like that area as much because the road runs parallel with it, quite a bit. Not saying that isn't a spot to try, but it looks like a spot that might be one of those areas I do a rattle and run through, where I start at one end, north or south end there, and work my way along the river, and do something where I'm rattling and stuff if it's the rut and something like that.
Why along the river?
Well, generally the deer are back towards the river, generally. I mean, that I've noticed, especially in this area. That could be completely opposite down there. And I hope somebody chimes in somewhere along the line and posts on something and proves me wrong, It'd be just fine, because I'd hate to go down there and try to hunt some stuff and do it like I do here and totally
I don't think
fail.
You're wrong. I mean, that would be consistent with the themes that I've heard from the other two.
Mm-hmm. It just, like I said, that little invisible barrier that river holds there, it seems to be quite the good area that they like to just hang off of. And I might not be right on the edge of the river. I might be 100 yards in off the timber or something like that, just so I can maximize the distance I can call and reach deer with, And it's harder to do when you don't know the layout of the timber, where the thick spots are, where the beds are, But hey, you just go out there and give it hell, and sometimes you just get lucky, And I'd rather be out there giving her hell and trying to make something happen than not try at all, right? So
right.
So that's what that spot. I might be, but it all depends, It all depends, That there's a little open area right along the river back there. A guy might be able to keep an eye on if he's got some time or something, and see what's coming down, and maybe crossing the river, going over to that section that's private across from there. So that's one positive to that, is looks like some private along that backside along the river, similar to the section we were talking about before here. And so that's one plus, is it looks like it's got some pretty good private stuff across the river there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Well, that pretty much sums up our or finalizes the Lucas's tearing apart or dissecting the 4 different sections of public land. Let's just if you've got a minute here, let me just ask a couple quick questions about public land as a rule. It sounds like you hang trail cameras. In your part of the world, again, it sounds like it's less populated. However, it sounds like there's a significant amount of hunter pressure. In the summer, for instance, do you run cameras?
Yeah, I haven't thrown cameras out yet.
No. Right.
I really won't throw cameras out until I do some glassing, probably end of June. I'll start doing some driving around in the mornings and evenings when I get a chance. And I've never been super into putting the cameras out and then watching the horns grow from nubs. I've just never been into it. I could care less. I'm just like, this is my time to kind of focus on some other things,
Yep.
And then, so come the end of June, July, I'll start to see some bucks with some actual developed antlers, and then I'll start getting a little bit more amped up. And once I start spotting some deer in particular areas in the fields, and that's just simple drive around and glass, nothing to it. Anybody can do that. And once I start spotting some big racks popping up out of them wheat fields and beet fields and stuff like that, and I'll try to figure out if I can get a camera over there and get a closer look at them and go from there. I mean, it's hard up here. It's when you spot some of them velvet bucks, they're almost never there come hunting season, I mean, unless they're there a couple days before season, they're just not there. If you see them, mid-July in an area, and then just think, I'm going to come back and hunt that field come September 1st, yeah, good luck. You might get lucky, but it's just not going to happen. It used to be like that when we didn't have as much hunting pressure, but now there's enough people around, and deer see a vehicle and they run in. So you don't really even get a lot of glassing in anymore. But one thing I like to do, if I will go put cameras out without even laying eyes on deer, is I'll drive the river with my boat and hit the dried up spots where the river came up, and then they almost go up in this almost like backup water. The water will run up some old channels and then end up receding. So it leaves this muddy area that deer will cross back and forth. So I might walk those and find some big trails crossing places like that, and then I'll hang a camera. The tracks never lie, right? So you find a big track and hang a camera and find those spots that are recently wet, and they'll tell you everything. I've located I don't know how many deer doing just that simple tactic.
Well, gosh, I've taken enough of your time. I just really quickly want to look back at my notes here that I took while we were talking. You answered the question about water. It sounds like all of you, and we'll save that for the show, I guess, when we all get together. You all like big timber, so I guess that's all I got. I guess the one question that we haven't, or the one question I haven't asked, and the one thing that we haven't talked about is, what's your best advice for keeping a good mental attitude? Because certainly it would seem to me that this kind of hunting is mentally a grind at times because of, it's hard enough during the rut or whenever you're hunting, to just keep on keeping on. But then when you've got that extra added element of other people, how is it that you best combat the well, I'll call them the mental evils?
Well, because I've had grown up since I was like 13, 12, 13 years old doing this. For a lot of years, I'd get pissed off and angry, and I'd get all upset about stuff and let things get to me. And over time, I think the best way to look at all of it is in a comical way. Like I get a kick out of, like I said, I brought up earlier. I've had more hunts screwed up after I've bust my ass doing something that I actually thought was kind of stupid. Like maybe putting a canoe. Like I put a canoe in a drainage ditch one time, and I paddled like a mile to sneak in on a deer. Okay. I get in there, I sneak in, I set up, me and my buddy, and when we get in the tree, we're like, wow, that was worth it. This is going to be incredible. And then it's starting to get light, and somebody comes just right across from the regular parking area. We can see them with our binoculars about 1,000 yards out. They come walking right through the field where all the deer were and walk right in line with where we are, where we expect our deer to come from, and just totally blew the whole hunt. And all we could do was laugh. It was like, well, that sucks. It's like we basically looked at it as, so let's break it down. So we got up at 3:30. We loaded the canoe. We drove down here. Got eaten alive by mosquitoes. Paddled our asses all the way down here. Climbed up in the trees and sat in the tree for an hour and a half before light, just to watch that guy walk in here. Cool. Just laugh about it. I mean, that's the best thing you can do. Is it's all about having fun, anyways. So if you can't laugh at yourself, then you're gonna have a tough time in the public land. You just will. And there are times, yes, that I still get agitated, but it doesn't last as long. I just, all right, on to the next. I'll just grab my stuff and go. Stuff just happens, and I just pick up my stuff and go, and just treat everybody else with respect. I mean, it's not your land, it's not somebody else's land, it's everybody's. And that's been a big topic lately, and I think everybody needs to just own up to it and just respect everybody else. And if you can just coexist with everybody out there in the woods and just work harder than the other guy, it's going to work out for you. So.
And that really seems
really
like
all I got.
The bottom line is working harder than the other guy, harder and smarter. But honestly, it sounds like hard work goes a long way. And again, it goes back to everything I've ever told my salespeople. If you work hard, you'll win, and that remains true with just about everything. But thanks for spending an hour and plus with me talking about land that you're never going to hunt.
Yeah, you never know. Hey, you never know, Jason. We might have to sneak on down to Illinois. Hey, all you Illinois boys, you stay out of our spot down there.
We're coming. Yeah, I would draw a tag next year for Iowa, so I'm kind of jacked about that.
Well, you know what would be really cool? It'd be really badass if some young fella or whoever goes out and uses the tips that we've talked about, or the ideas we've had talked about on this whole thing we're doing, and actually killed a deer in a particular area that we talked about, and then posted it and said, "Hey, thanks for the tips. We killed one in this spot." That would be incredible. Now that would be, I don't even know. That'd just make me happier than hell to have somebody go out and do that, actually.
Well, there you have it, my conversation with Lucas Cayko. Lucas definitely has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to really anything deer hunting. He definitely has put some nice deer on the ground and certainly knows his stuff when it comes to public hunting grounds. It's always neat to get a different perspective, and a different perspective is what we got today. I think you'll notice the difference between the other two guys and just where they came from, and of course you'll get to hear why they had differences on the next show. But with that, I think we'll close out the show today. Thank you for listening. Again, if you haven't given us a review, please do so. Go to iTunes and search for White Knuckle Podcast. Then go ahead into the ratings and review section and give us a review. A review is what would help us get better. If you listen to it on Stitcher, go into Stitcher and do the same thing. We can use reviews anywhere that you get them. If you have any other feedback, don't be afraid to post it on our White Knuckle Productions Facebook page, or on our Instagram account, or on our Twitter feed. With that, I think we've taken enough of your time for one day. If you have any questions, again, please don't be afraid to post them on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or our Twitter feed. And again, give us a review, please. That's the way we get better at what it is that we do. Thanks again to Ozonics for their support. And again, be listening for that chance to win the significant prize package from Ozonics. That's about all the time we have left for today. Thanks for listening. Jason out.